Hello, everybody. I am Jeremy Hochhalter. This is Curious Talk. I am here with Noah Grand. Hi, Noah.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's a rainy day in Los Angeles, which
Oh, is it
is
raining
what
there?
you always expect.
Huh. Yeah, it was really nice when I woke up this morning, and then something's blowing in over our mountains, which are just off to the west, and it looks
Yep.
cold, gray, and very possibly snowy. So we'll see what we get. But hooray for being inside. So yeah, we're here, coronavirus free today. Yeah, you don't have it.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have it. That's good. And no one can catch it from us online anyway. Hooray.
Yes.
So Noah, you play Braka, Braka
Yep.
Blue specifically,
Yes, I do.
on the Curiosity Cache Fridays at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. What do you think of that so far? This is your first Scarlands outing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's my first Scarlands outing, so I felt like because I didn't know a whole lot about the Scarred Lands going in, that part of what I do is put a little of that into my character. And Braca, I think in some ways is one of the least worldly people of the party. And I think as we've been playing and I've been, building the character in my head a bit, I've been thinking of Braca in some ways as maybe the youngest person in the group.
That could very well be. I don't actually
Yeah.
know what. I know Decim's fairly young. He has so much backstory that I know about, and that will
Yep.
probably come out during the game or whatever.
Yep.
But there's not really like an identifying timeline to his backstory, whether or not it's he is, if he's 19, if he's 100. I'm not totally sure, but he's an interesting character, and I'm actually really enjoying Braca because so let's talk about what
Yeah.
Braca is. So Braca is a an iron bred. Oh, bless you. No,
Yes.
no. He's an iron bred, which is actually a name that they've given themselves because originally they were
Yes.
called Sutak, which are a horse-headed humanoid, kind of like a minotaur, but horse-head
Hmm.
instead. And Sutak are like super violent, evil Titan spawn that like live on the plains
Hmm.
of Skarn, and it's
Yeah.
they're not the best people to run into. And that's of course kind of a
Yep.
generalization. There's a lot of moral ambiguity that goes
Hmm.
into Scarred Lands, but the Ironbred themselves kind of stepped away from that, and they said, okay,
Yep.
we're not going to be these super, we're not necessarily violent. We're not necessarily followers of a titan or whatever, and they made their own tribes. And then Braca went another step further and left home, which isn't a big. I mean, isn't a. It's not something that happens a lot for Ironbred. So tell us
Exactly.
about that.
Yeah. So Braca's so we're in the city of Shelzar. This uh large kind of cosmopolitan city in the desert, which maybe you could say more about. And the Ironbred live is kind of a nomadic people in that desert. And so some of them are merchants and traders. And so as Braca's family was, part of the wandering Ironbred tribe, acting as merchants and traders and maybe going off a little bit from the main caravan to actually make deliveries to various places. Braca decided, you know what? I'm just going to stay here
And that's fair.
and try and make it on my own in life
Yeah.
because instead of just buying and trading, junk and trying to fix it and then trade it from point A to point B, he wants to create his own.
Yeah.
He wants to create his own good stuff, but he ends up creating his own junk.
But it's a journey to get there.
Yes.
He's They say you have to do something for like 10 years to be a master at it, and he's just starting his journey, so it's all right. Um,
Exactly.
so yeah, he essentially was taken on as an employee of the Curiosity Cache, which is
Mhm.
a curiosity shop in Shelzar, and Belky, who's the gnome that owns it, gave him a place to live and a roof over his head, and
Mhm.
that kind of safety. Definitely like a stabilizing factor that Rocker probably didn't have before. So
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
yeah, because part of Baraka's background is there is a particular uh, background uh, in the Scarred Lands guide for being a desert nomad.
Yeah,
And so the way that works is there'd be a part of the background basically what kind of area are you from? Uh, so he has the desert nomad feature, and then there's another feature based on what it is that you did in life and how exactly it is that Braca went from being with his family to being at the Curiosity Cache. And well, that part is yet to be revealed.
yeah, yeah. No spoilers.
Yep.
Yeah, that's actually
Yes.
something we haven't talked about in any of our talks. Is that backgrounds work similarly in Scarred
Mhm.
Lands, but you have options that aren't in other settings, which is cool. So like you'll have it's essentially like a two-parter. So you have I
Yeah.
am from the desert, I am from the mountains or the plains, or I am, a seafarer or whatever, and that gives you a certain skill set, a certain background feat, or not feat, but ability.
Mhm.
And then you have like the nomad side of things, or you have I was a whatever it's kind of the same as far as the other backgrounds go, but it fills in the niche of your what you did, where you grew up from. So
Yep.
it's a really neat part of Scarred Lands that I've enjoyed. um, it'll be fun to see that play out during this game, because it's something that I haven't done a lot of in
Mhm.
5e until now. Now that they've come out with the fifth
Yeah.
edition version, so pretty exciting for me. Um,
And that's why I'm always looking at why Brock is always looking at Freed like, hold on, you're not from the desert. Have you had enough water? Like
right?
seriously, have you had enough water?
I mean, he's made of water, so we want to make sure that
But
doesn't melt away.
yeah, he looks like he can dehydrate super quickly.
Yeah. If you ever see Freed starting to shrink or leaving puddles behind him, you know there's something wrong. So, and then he's going to go full Frosty the Snowman on us.
Uh
So let's talk about Noah the person. What does Noah do in real life?
oh. Do number of things. A lot of what I do is combination of write various adventures and other supplements for the DM's Guild, and work with planning online conventions, which is definitely a little more in demand these days.
Right, right. Um, and that's actually how I met you originally, because
Yep.
we were both writing stuff for Adventures League, the CCC program. Um, I don't know if we really chatted a whole bunch before on con. I think maybe a little bit.
I I think maybe a little bit, but a lot of it was just me signing up as a DM for a whole lot of games.
Yeah, yeah. So
DM.
that was during OnCon, which was going
Yep.
on 2 years ago, about a year and a half ago.
Yep.
I hosted a online convention for all of the people who were creating online or CCC content, because there was so much of it out there. It's hard for a player to have access to it as far as going to a convention. So yeah,
Yeah.
getting to host that was fun. Last year I took the year off. Just wasn't in the right mindset to do it again. But with
Mhm.
everything that's going on right now, um, it crosses my mind, especially with what you're doing, to work with you to maybe host another one here soon to help all of those people that are, somehow to help these people out. Because I mean, everyone that was scheduled to go to a con and, either to go and play or to go and, run, and
Mhm.
to um, to make a living, because a lot of these people that go to cons, that's how they make their money.
Yep.
They go and they set up these tables, and so I've already seen people doing it. But if there's any way that we can help to set up something that people can then go and buy online
Yeah.
and have it sent to them, that'd be great. So we'll definitely talk about that more here soon. Um,
Yeah. And so basically, all I've been doing since I woke up today is having conversations with various people and just about what it takes kind of on the player side, because one of my main roles has been to basically th- come up with, at least verbally, here are some steps of how you onboard players and dungeon masters to playing online for the first time. So now's a very good time to start writing that down.
yeah, yeah. You can release this on DM's Guild. It can be your guide to how to play online. Uh-huh.
Possibly.
Uh-huh. So what have you published on DM's Guild? Is that the only place that you publish right now? Is DM's Guild?
Um, right now, yes.
Okay.
So right now, I'm curious where we are. I'm just gonna check something
Yeah.
real quick, because the last thing that I published a couple of weeks ago now is I was one of the writers on Master of None, which is a guide to multiclassing and various kinds of multiclassing rules.
Nice.
So a lot of what I wrote is a system for being essentially a classless system and just having everything with point buy. And so there are various things you can do with that. Like I have a character who I had played through Adventures League for a while and still have this character around who's uh, to I guess the best way to put his character class is instigator,
That's fair.
where what he likes to do is walk up to people and be a really big distraction. Like, oh, dragon, you're trying to pay attention to people. I'm gonna walk up to you and blast a wave of cold air in your face, Mister Red Dragon, and then start hitting you and distract you so much that you just want to beat up on the little instigator, whose main class is Halfling Barbarian. But there are only so many things that I can do with this character in the formal rules for 5th edition.
Yeah.
Because ideally, you know, part of how he was initially a Storm Herald Tundra Barbarian, which is where
Gotcha.
that blast of cold air comes from. But during one of his adventures, he went to the ruins of Mesro and Schult and uh, received the favor of the god of mazes. So he also wanted to become a zealot. And of course, you can't do both of those, but in this system, among other things, you can be both a Storm Herald and a zealot.
That's fun. Yeah.
So in this system, he would basically be, instead of having some of the higher tier features of Storm Herald or Zealot, he'd have some of the lower level features of each, along with being a Cavalier and a Thief. Because the other fun thing is he got a bag of devouring.
Oh no.
Oh yes. So what he likes to do is sometimes if combat isn't going well or he gets really, really bored, he thinks that the bag of devouring is a sign from the god of mazes, and that he's just going to send creatures in there to go meet Ubtao.
And it's potentially possible that that's where they'll end up. But
And you also get to do the fun thing of, oh, I'm a halfling. Athletics check to shove somebody in the bag. Okay, I have plus 17 with the belt of giant strength and expertise.
that's awesome. You're actually now the second halfling in AL that I've met that has a the belt of giant strength. So They're scary. They're scary.
Yes, I also have a Goblin Barbarian with a Belt of Giant Strength.
Nice. So, is there anything else in AL that you've enjoyed writing? You do
Yeah,
adventures, right?
yeah. So Master of None, I had a chance to check, and we are still number 10 in the most popular
Awesome.
DMs Guild titles right now.
Congratulations.
And yeah, and other adventures. The first adventure that I published on DMs Guild, uh, I was uh, very fortunate that, among other things, we were able to get it into the Australian wildfire relief bundle.
Oh, nice. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So my adventure, Jaunt to the Center of Faerun, because it was part of that bundle, has sold, uh, I think, around 1,800 copies now, almost all through the bundle.
Wow.
Yeah, because the bundle sold very, very well.
Yeah, which is good. It
And
was for a good
yeah,
cause.
yeah,
It's always
yeah.
awesome. DM's Guild has been great as far as when a cause comes up that is
Mhm.
worthy, and there's so many worthy causes out there, so it's hard to say, all of
Yeah,
everything should have a bundle, but I mean, they really do. They find these awesome causes, they put the bundles together, and the customer base, all of the audience, everyone that's out
mhm,
there that's playing has been amazing as far as buying even when they own something that's in there already.
yeah,
They're like, I don't care, sell it to me because this is for a great cause. So, hooray, you
yeah, and
guys!
with this Adventurers League bundle, at least on the writer's side, there were writers, basically tripping over each other, trying to say, "Yes, take my stuff, take my
Yeah,
stuff, take my stuff, put it in the bundle." And as writers, we don't get anything from that because all the proceeds go to the charity.
right.
But there's just amazing support from the author community.
Which is awesome. Growing up, I'm old and stuff, so growing up pre the current environment for D&D was weird because D&D wasn't cool. I was a
Hmm.
nerd, like all of that stuff, and so now living in a time where everything is so accepted, everyone is so supportive of one another. I shouldn't say everyone, most everyone is so
Yeah,
supportive of
yeah,
one another.
yeah. I get it.
It brings a tear to my eye. Like, it's so awesome.
Yeah.
So speaking of getting into D&D, what got you into role playing, and was D&D your first system?
So I had a bit of a weird trajectory where I was around, various uh, systems where I talked my parents into buying me various books that I would read as a kid and as a teenager, but didn't have anybody to play with except for you know one random day where I couldn't get a Magic the Gathering game, and someone invited a few people to play the BattleTech role playing game once. Didn't go that well, but I didn't actually start playing D&D until around 3 years ago.
Nice.
As among other things, I was just looking for a way to get out of the apartment and make some friends.
Nice. So, have you only done Forgotten Realms up until now because of
Uh,
that, or did you do like Curse of Strahd, which was Ravenloft? Have you done any of the third party settings that are out there?
so I did a little a little Ravenloft with a campaign that uh, wasn't at all canonical and ended up the game kind of fell apart.
Oh, that's too
And
bad.
yeah, it was a mutual decision, I think.
Gotcha.
And the other settings, the other two games I play in right now, one is largely in the Moonshine House, so still in the Forgotten Realms, and the other game that I'm playing on Friday nights is Dragonlance.
Nice. Those are actually my first two worlds. Yay! So like, Dragonlance was my first D&D world, and then when I went, my first experience with Forgotten Realms was the Moonshade Isles. So,
Nice.
yay! um, when you're D&Ding, do you prefer playing or running, or both?
Both. I What I really prefer is being in a group where people work together well and where many minds can get together at the table and create an experience that's
Yeah,
better than any of us could think of on our own.
totally. Yeah, for me, the best D&D game is where the DM is as much of a player and the
Hmm.
players are as much of the DM
Yeah,
than anything. And I think that's the only doing AL when it came out was kind of a hiccup for me. Like it was weird to
mhm,
get into, but there wasn't any. There were like two other guys that one of them I've actually published with now, and the other one we've been writing stuff with. But I mean, this is how long I've known them for now.
yep,
But they were the only other guys that were trying to set things up in our area. And it's not that we live in a small town, but there just wasn't a lot of effort going on. And so we went out and did that. And like running AL is so much different than running what I had done before because it is, you
yeah,
are just sitting down, you're like, here is the story that we're running.
yep,
There is no like, there's a certain level of, oh, I can't think of the word right now. Um, Separation that you can have from the published work
hmm
and still be AL legal. But at a certain point, you have to be like, well, we're going to rein that back because you technically can't have those things. You can't go make those things, So
yeah,
it was an
yep,
interesting thing. But like as time went on, and that group locally built, it became so much more interactive, which was awesome. Like
yeah.
everyone was doing much better at doing, what they could with the story. So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, it's interesting with AL. What one of the things is how much do people just focus on the adventure and here's the plot and we're just going to do the plot as written, and how much is people just as a group deciding, well, we're we're going to have fun and it's attached to the adventure in various ways, but mainly we're just going to have fun.
Yeah.
And one of the main things that I try and do when I'm a dungeon master is try and read the mood of the group very, and kind of guess which track they're on and go from there.
Yeah. Have you, when you run AL, do you do mostly in store, mostly at conventions, even, and at a certain point they
Uh,
made it so you could run it at home. What's your most, or online? I guess I should include.
yeah. So lately, a lot of what I've been running is either at stores or at conventions. So after our first episode of the Curiosity Cache. That was the weekend that went from Valentine's Day to President's Day,
Yeah.
and so there was a convention down at one of the main hotels around LAX that weekend. So after our game, I packed everything up and took my suitcase down to the hotel, and there were you know 9 4-hour slots left in the convention, and I DM'd 8 of the 9. So 32 hours of DMing.
Yeah.
And the really funny thing was I brought my laptop, but I look in my bag, and the printed copy of the adventures is not there.
It definitely happens.
Yep.
So, what's been your most memorable D&D moment?
So I think one of my favorites was from this Moonshine Isles campaign. And this is going to be an example of one of those uh, things which is not at all in the plot. Because the plot was it?
Hooray!
Yeah, so the plot was our party was going back to uh, Seraphil, the Eladrin court. This was my character's first time back home after storming off from the court in a fit of, well, you people don't know what you're doing, so I'm going to leave and pout. There's an arranged marriage that he wasn't a particular fan of.
Oh, was it his own
So
marriage?
yes, he was arranged to marry his best friend. This is something that I'd worked out with the DM in my character's backstory.
Nice.
Uh, that he was arranged to marry his best friend. Uh, Neither one of them would have been particularly interested in marriage, uh, but my bard was a little too self-centered to realize that just kind of signing the paperwork of, oh, we're married, would help her out in the long term. So anyway, it was his first time back, and he was there on official business, trying to talk the Eladrin into not waging war against the humans. So while I, as a player, am doing this negotiation in character as, you know, the person who'd have a contact there, and as the party bard, the other two players are talking literally behind my back, conspiring back and forth to not only have a party, but to start inviting my character's ex to the party on stage as a guest of honor and trying to get us back together. And because I'm a bit of a method actor, I had been focused entirely on, okay, we've got to get this peace deal. We've got to get this peace deal. Okay, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. What? What's going on? So out of it that I didn't have any more of that bardic inspiration left
Yeah.
as a character or as a player. So the performance that my bard does on stage, well, let's just say that it was going so badly that as a glamour bard, he got desperate enough to try and do the glamour bard ability where you charm some people in the audience, because if it fails, they don't even notice. And so the only people who he charmed successfully were his ex's parents, because of course they're elves and they all have advantage on the save.
Right.
He gets slapped. His ex storms off. And that's still the moment from this campaign that we just talk about. That was completely unplanned, just one of those shenanigans things. And it was also the start of Ayrton the Bard's notoriously bad performances.
That's awesome.
My
That's so
average die roll in over a year on performance is a 6 on a d20. It got so bad enough that as a group we agreed that Ayrton loses proficiency in performance and gains it in intimidation. His actual behavior doesn't change.
Right? But people run screaming whenever he pulls out his loot. That's awesome. So, do you have any favorite NPCs from your gaming past? These can be either ones that you ran as a DM or ones that you encountered as a player.
So, favorite NPC. I think that. Let me think. Let me think about this a little bit, because I'm thinking, and I'm having one of those moments where, as I'm on the spot, I remember everything about the NPC's name. I remember everything about the NPC except for their name,
Yeah.
because that's one of those things that happens to me. I'm terrible with names,
I
particularly on the
completely
spot.
understand.
So
you can describe the type of NPC.
there we go. Uh, yeah, I got it. So, yep, just came to me. So in this first adventure that I published, one of the things that I realized I needed in the adventure after the first playtest was this is an adventure where the characters are spending all their time in this lost city of Kuatoa, where there are two different groups of Kuatoa who worship different gods,
Yeah.
one of whom is a demon lord, one of whom is an explorer, a gnomish explorer who just got lost. And, well, didn't get lost as much as he was trying to find a way to the Underdark. So Nemo went down to the Underdark and is missing. And so the party's job is to find Nemo.
Wait a minute.
Yes. Yes, the party's job is to find Nemo. Uh, and so what I realized in the playtest is I needed to have some character who could explain what on earth is going on with this completely alien civilization. And
Yeah.
so one of the other things that I wanted to do uh, as a writer is I wanted to write a character who was non-binary because in Adventures League play and all these different modules where either I've played the adventure or DM'd it, there weren't really any characters who were like me and who were going through any of the things that I was going through in terms of trying to figure out my own identity.
Hmm.
And so this was, I wrote this character Fenzi at a time when I was still just trying to come out and had only come out to maybe half a dozen people, maybe dozens, somewhere in there. Uh, and so part of how I wrote this character was wanting to, just kind of put out there a character who uses both he, him, and they, them pronouns to see, is this something that players would accept and feel comfortable with?
Yeah.
And what I've found is overwhelmingly the answer is yes. Particularly when players are encountering new NPCs. It's a lot easier to accept that, yeah, the NPC, especially if the NPC is, well, Kuatoa, yeah, they them pronouns for Kuatoa, not necessarily as uh, surprising. And
Right.
sometimes when it's they them pronouns for humanoid race or for a player character that tends to, I find, throw people a little more.
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
So
And
yeah, so
there's a certain how do I want to say this as quickly as possible? Um, in our society, up until now, there's definitely like a concreted version of how people speak about each other. Like,
mhm,
you know, if that person looks like a man, most
mhm,
people call that person a man and
yeah,
say he, him, and all of that. And in D&D, that's not necessarily the case. Forgotten Realms history um, is, I don't want to say full of, but has a lot of non-binary characters, gay characters, lesbian characters, um, characters with no gender whatsoever.
mhm,
And I'll be honest, that's one of the awesome things about Scarlands. It is full of that stuff. One of the major gods, Keeley, is literally all genders and can choose whatever he, she
mhm,
it wants to be at any given time.
yep,
And really enjoys doing that,
yep,
and so
yep,
D&D is such a great expression of these things that are harder for our society, and I'm going to say
yeah,
American society to
Mhm.
talk about and really change the way that we talk, like
Yeah.
on a daily basis. Even the first online game that I've been playing with Travis Legg, my first character was a Dareth, which are non-binary. They're literally not, they
Mhm.
are not male. They're not female. In
Yeah.
order to breed, they can breed with any of them.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get rid of, my character was very muscled.
Mhm.
He's shaped like a man, but I really tried for the first few episodes to get rid of saying he when it was my turn.
Yeah.
And it was so hard. And even
It
now,
is.
when I refer
It.
back to him, I still say he.
Yep. Yeah. It.
and and
And
it's
and that's a yeah. And that's something that's hard. It takes practice,
yeah,
and it's one of those things where I know as a player and as a person that when people are practicing and and dealing with it, it takes time.
yeah,
And what one of the things that I've done even as a writer is realize, okay, that there are some characters where I realized in various drafts that my pronouns for them weren't entirely consistent, and that's just one of the things that can happen even to us as writers and as characters who we're portraying, because
yeah.
it's something that happens with us as people outside of the game.
And
And
that's
so
why you
that's
proofread your work and you have an editor do it too.
yes. Yes, we love you, editors.
Right? The unsung heroes of
Hmm.
really any written
Yes.
art. So what are you looking forward to in the Curiosity campaign, a Curiosity Cache campaign? Like, I know, we're only on episode 4 this coming Friday, so
Hmm.
it's hard to say. I know where we're going, but as Braka and as you playing Braka, what are you looking forward to?
So I think Bronca's looking forward very much to getting out of the curiosity cache. It's nothing personal about me as a player. It's everything to do with Bronca's relationship with the stability of the curiosity cache, and I mean very, very much the physical stability of the curiosity cache.
Right? Yeah, falling through the floor
And
does not help your desire to stay there. So
well, it's more just a sense of shame than anything else because he couldn't fix it, and he was absolutely convinced he fixed it. I, as a player, was really hoping that he didn't, and so I'm very, very happy that he fell through. But as a character, Braca, oh no, no, he needs to go somewhere where he can feel valuable.
yeah, well, I mean, he had at least 12 hours of solid pride to stand on because it was standing, everything was fine.
Hmm.
And to be honest, fickle fate gotcha. So
Hmm.
it wasn't even like a planned out thing. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see everyone get out of the shop and where you'll go from here. This Friday, um, we'll probably see you guys. I mean, we had a little bit of combat, which was in the shop. And it's not going to be necessarily a very combat intensive game, but it will be interesting to see everyone leave that safe space that the store has been up until
Yep.
now and going out into the city. And I was talking with Katie about this because she writes for Scarlands and stuff, and she knows, Shelzar is it's a safe city. Like there are definitely laws. There
Hmm.
are the attitude towards certain stigmas and taboos that are in other cities don't exist here. And so, like, leaving the curiosity cache and that bubble of safety, you guys are going to see a lot more things that maybe you weren't ready for as characters because you grew up elsewhere. I have found it so entertaining that no one decided to play someone from Shelzar, and so everyone gets to go out and be all like, "Oh, whoa, what is that?" Like the centaur just made my day because why is this thing here? What's going on? And it
Yep.
cracked me up when you said the other day in our text chat, seeing the word Sintar, Sintaur, made so much sense in context.
Yep. Like, yeah, I get it now because I was processing it differently, and I think that yeah, I think Brakaw would look at that creature and like, meh,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. I mean that whole lack of the free will and control thing, huge turn off to Brakaw.
yeah, absolutely. And so it'll be interesting seeing your character and everyone else's character um, deal with that, because
Mhm.
it's funny you say free will, because I think everyone has come to realize, like, not Freed, sorry, my brain just turned off. Decim, John's character,
Mhm.
was a slave for a while, and there was definitely, like, when he saw the man pointing at him and speaking in a language he didn't
Mm.
understand, there was fear there, because he was like, I don't want to be a slave to this guy, because that creature is not natural. And that kind of stuff is just gonna become a little more forefront in dealing with, and seeing your guys' characters do that would be fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it'll be interesting because I've tried to play Braka so far as very much, well, I'm an Ironbred. I've got this powerful presence, so I can deepen my voice like this, and I can intimidate
Right.
because that's something all Ironbred can do.
Absolutely.
It's as it's one of their racial traits. They're all proficient in intimidation, but in that first combat, uh, he refused to throw his dagger because that would be lethal damage.
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
at this point, that's been a line he hasn't been willing to cross.
Oh, well, I'll
Will it
ask
stay
you one
that
more
way?
question.
We'll see.
Yeah. I'll ask you one more question before we call it for the day. How do you feel about, since we've started at level 0 for you guys? You don't have a class to really fall back on. You're all essentially the same. You've chosen backgrounds, which gives you, a certain set of skills, but are you enjoying the level 0 aspect of it so far?
Yeah, yeah, I am. It's been a good introduction to the world, to the various characters. Uh, I have, I have a feeling like we're starting we're starting to get a good idea. So maybe as heading out of the curiosity cache, it may start to be around the time to you know get that first level.
I'm curious to see whether or not everyone ends up taking what we've talked about as far as their first levels, or ongoing things from there, because you know um, a lot of characters don't get their actual direction into level 3, and whether or not what you chose before and behind the scenes is going to end up being what you choose once it comes to it, because events might change your mind. um, like, I'm pretty sure I know where Freed's going. I'm pretty sure I know where everyone's going, but like,
Hmm.
we'll see whether or not that turns out. And everyone can come and watch that happen live on Fridays at 4:30 p.m. That's Eastern, on our Twitch channel, which is WH Publications. And all of Noah's fun stuff that he has shared, I am going to put in the show notes if you are listening to this on podcast or watching it on YouTube later on. Noah, where can everyone find you on the interwebs?
So the best place to find me is on Twitter. I'm at Noah Grant.
Nice. Is that with a period?
Nope.
Okay. Which one of yours is with the period?
Um,
You don't have to say it if you don't want to.
I don't think any of them. Maybe Facebook, but that's not the greatest place to follow me.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
Twitter.
won't share that one.
Yeah, Twitter. Whatever. It's just not. There's only so much I do there. And Twitter, I've been on for long enough that yes, I was able to get at Noah Grant.
Nice. All right, there. That one is shared. I just want to make sure I typed it in right. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining me today. and talking about all of the D&Ds and all of the fun stuff.
Yes.
Um, I will see
Thank you
you.
for having me.
I guess that is tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah, it's tomorrow.
Nice. So I'll see you tomorrow for our game, which got postponed last week. Last week we had technical difficulties.
Yep.
And hopefully we are done with those because I know the first few episodes, every time we
Yes.
had a sound issue, but I think everything has been ironed out. We are not going to have to deal with that anymore. And everyone can
Yes.
come listen to the pleasure that is our game.
Yes.
Yay! So we will see everyone on the stream tomorrow. And everyone have a good day. Bye.
Bye.